There we go. I just realised my mic wasn't working, so what would have been me talking to myself, you wouldn't have heard anything, so apologies there. Okay, sorry. Let's start again. So welcome to episode 7 of Teacher Talking Time. And if you've got any comments, any questions that you would like answering, then please put in the comments, post your questions, let me know of your thoughts or ideas and that sort of thing. That would be wonderful. And also today I'm going to be sharing a few things with you, a couple of things in relation to teaching online. A particular course that I would recommend some teachers to consider, particularly if you've just completed your CELTA course and you want to develop just a bit more confidence when teaching remotely, because we're all in the same boat. We're all in that position as we are now. And also today we're going to be having a look at some books and some of my own thoughts and reflections from the previous week, and a couple of things that I've tried when teaching remotely. So let's get started, but just bear with me and let me see what I have here. But I can see, bear with me. There we go. All right, now there was a question in one of the comments from a group on Facebook, and one of the questions was, how can I develop my experience, my skills with regards to teaching online, and how can I find that niche when I'm trying to find students? And finding students can be quite difficult. It's a bit of a challenge to find students initially. So one thing that I would recommend is considering starting your own website or your own blog to build up your presence in terms of teaching remotely. And the website, the blog that you start to create will build a following, and you can share your blog, your website about English teaching to others on Facebook and Twitter, so it builds some momentum there. And essentially I would recommend that teachers develop the confidence to try and blog and write about their experiences and connect with others and comment with other teachers as websites, and so you build a sort of community in a way, and that sense of community will actually drive students to your website. And I would recommend potential teachers to write about the 10 best ways to learn new vocabulary, or five verbs that you need to know to become fluent in English. This sort of posting will drive the students to your website, and it's trying to convert those that see your website, read your post, to become students. And with any Blogger or WordPress account that you have, there's a way for students or potential students to fill in their information and contact you if they want online private lessons, so that would be great. And talking about private students, I've just been notified that one of my students has just left a review, and a review of me teaching them privately. And so one thing that you can do, bear with me, one thing that you can do is to develop a sort of reviewing system. You can either do it privately with your private students, or you could do it through a sort of online community that you develop with Preply or Preply, or however you describe that. So one of my private students has reviewed their reviewed me in terms of teaching. So let me just bring up the website already. Nope, bear with me. Let's see. Bump. Nope. That's not working. Is that working? That's working. Let's go back here. Yes, here we go. Oh, right. So what do we have here? My main profile on Preply, and the latest one for me is this student here. So the student that I was teaching last week, I guess Friday, just sent them a quick message to say, please feel free to fill in a review for me. That'll be wonderful. And he's left a very brief review. So there we are. Now, let's go back to our main source. So when it comes down to private students and you teach them privately, I would always recommend that you have a sort of system where you can get students to review your private work, and you can get to share those reviews on your blog, on your website, or through a connection service with like Preply or italki or some of the other online educational providers. Anyway, so that's one thing to consider. Now, another thing that I wanted to have a look at was the opportunity for developing your skills when it comes down to teaching English online to other, and developing that confidence. And there's a free course available for everybody if you're interested in terms of learning a bit more about the sort of online elements of teaching and building those skills that you need. So the course itself, and again I'll just share my website, or this website rather, and the course itself is Teaching English Online, and it's through Cambridge assessment, so the same accreditation with the CELTA, etc., that you can get recognition for, and you can actually get a certificate. So if you have a look, if I just scroll down a little bit, make this available, there is an upgrade where you can pay for your course or your certificate, so £42, and then you get an actual certificate if you want. Now, certificates are good, and the reason this is free is because you don't get a certificate at the end, but it's a 4-week course with weekly study of about 5 hours per week, and you can start to develop the skills necessary for you to teach online. So if you have no prior experience or understanding of teaching remotely online, then, and you have a lot of experience of teaching face to face, then this course here would definitely benefit you. For those that have just finished maybe the online CELTA, which can be over a period of a number of weeks rather than the 4-week usual course, then this one will also help you develop more confidence in terms of teaching remotely. Here we've got a bit of the overview of teaching online. There's a couple of videos and then some topics that will be covered, and it's broken down into 4 key topics. You've got the context of teaching online, you've got how to plan and deliver online skills, you've got how to plan and deliver online language lessons. So skills are slightly different to the traditional language lessons. So skills being like reading, writing, speaking and listening. And then you've got the online language lessons. So practicing the language, the speaking, focusing on the pronunciation, setting the context. And then finally, there's a little bit on continuing your professional development as an online teacher. And again, one thing is here, joining online communities of teachers. So I'm going back to what I said earlier about if you want to develop a sort of an environment, or to become known as a good online English teacher, then develop that community by creating your own website on WordPress. Develop your community by sharing and commenting on other English teachers' websites and that sort of thing, and then you will start to get recognized as a professional teacher. And I would always recommend, and I've always said this, I think I mentioned this in a previous video of mine, that when you come to teaching English online, there are going to be lots and lots and lots of teachers who just deal teaching as a general subject. But if you've got a specialist area, or if you've got experience of teaching in a different area, so like medicine, for example, or law, if you've got experience in those fields as well, so combine them together. I remember there was a course called English for Professional Purposes, or English for Specific Purposes, and these specific purposes could be law, it could be business, it could be medicine, nursing. I remember there was a school in Korea, I recall, that prepared particular students to become airline pilots, or to become cabin crew or something like that, and they needed a level of English that would be respectable and for them to be able to communicate effectively with other speakers of English as well. So so always consider digging into a niche within English language teaching. So for me now, my current niche is academic English, and that's what I try and focus on, and also exam skills and getting students through a particular level of their English so that they can achieve what they need to achieve, whether it's studying abroad at an English speaking university, Australia, Canada, America, the UK, or whether they need that further support with their academic studies. So there we are. And I thought today what I would do is I'd share another thing about what's happened with one of my courses, and the drawbacks of teaching online. So for me, unfortunately, there's a particular course that I'm teaching regularly, and this course includes a variety of students. Bear with me, I've got some spam in the chat, so I'm going to remove that. The joys of online live sessions. Delete. Come on. There we go. All deleted, I hope. Right. So, where was I? All right. So I've been teaching a course regularly each week to a group of students, and these students have needed that further support with their academic English. Unfortunately, they don't feel very comfortable putting on their webcams and being front and center of the actual lesson itself. So what I've experienced is a mosaic of tiles of students with their names on, and or pictures, and I went to Twitter. Again, Twitter's a wonderful place where you can share challenges and seek advice from others, and I found myself asking for advice from others about what would be the best way to accommodate these students and to get them more comfortable with sharing their webcam. And one suggestion was from one teacher. She said, get them to do something where they have to put their camera on. And I thought, okay, with their presentations coming up in a couple of days' time now, I thought, well, we're doing presentations, so I'll get students to prepare a mini presentation. And I thought, okay, my favourite object in my home or in my room, or a popular photo that I've taken, and I gave them sort of what we would call instructions, and said, okay, you're going to go into 2 different rooms. One room is for my favourite object, and another room is for my favourite photo. And I want you to plan very quickly a quick 2-minute presentation, and I'll be choosing people at random about what would be the best photo or household item that you've got in your room or in your home, with the anticipation that they would turn their camera on and share, this is my object I wanted to share with everyone else, or this is the photo, and they've put it in a PowerPoint or something like that, and have their camera on, willing to share with everybody there. So after about 5 minutes preparation, I brought them all back into the main room, and I said, right, okay, let's choose. And I got Wheel of Names. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of it, but let's see, Wheel of Names. Okay, here we are. So I'll go back to sharing this website, and here, you could put in different names such as James or Stephen or David or Chris. Let's see, put some female names in: Molly, Sarah, Susan, etc. And then you can put all your student names in, click here, and it chooses one person at random and goes, yay, clap, 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 clap. And this was what I used to choose my students. As you can see, there we go, and it's removed Sarah. So, say I had a student called Sarah, I said, okay, Sarah, your turn. You can present your main object that was memorable and useful for you. So I was hoping student, let's say Sarah for example, would turn her camera on, but no, didn't put the camera on. And I went through all my students, none of them at all wanted to put their camera on. One student was talking about a watch that they were wearing, camera off, of course. I said to the student, can you turn your camera on? Can we have a look at the watch? It'll be really nice to see a watch which is special for you, something that your girlfriend bought you. And he said, I'm shy. I don't want to turn my camera on. And I thought, that was such a shame. So I'm still having some issues with this particular group where, I've never come across it before when it comes down to English, online teaching, where a student doesn't want to put their camera on. Yes, it would take a week or 2 normally, but week on week on, they've not put their camera on. So I'm racking my brains and wondering whether I will ever see what they look like. But yeah, anyway, any suggestions you have with regards to this group, let me know in the comments. It'll be great to see what advice you may have with regards to this particular situation that I find myself in now. So that's essentially what's happened with this particular course. But there have been positives as well. I've been teaching, or I've just taught a class today where I was involved with a student who's based in the UK. They've lived in the UK for about 3 years now. Originally from Europe, attending a university preparation course, and they want this academic support. They found me through Preply or Preply, however you want to pronounce it, and she needs that sort of academic support, and I feel quite comfortable and happy to try and help a student achieve what they want to try and achieve there. So that was today. That was quite useful, and she's booked up tomorrow and Friday as well in terms of lessons, and fingers crossed. I'm sure it will go fine. And she's from a particular country in Europe where you have to memorize a lot. So like former communist country or somewhere like that, where memorization is more important than the application of knowledge. And so the differences between the UK and their culture academically is quite far removed and quite different. And I always tend to find it quite interesting when it comes down to teaching academic skills at a UK university, because or academic skills for students who go into a variety of different universities, because there's that gap, that bridge that you have to divide, and you have to try and align it to the students and say, well, maybe in your university culturally it would be more appropriate for you to show how much you remember, memorize, but in the UK academically you need to demonstrate how wide or how broad you've read and critique. Sort of critical reading needs to take precedence rather than memorization. Okay, all right, so we got someone in the chat. Bear with me, let's choose the correct one. And we've got Repi. So Repi says hello, and then says, I'm Anya. So Anya, hello, welcome. Whereabouts are you from? Let me know in the comments. If you've got any questions that you want covering, then let me know. That I'll be quite happy to answer any questions that you may have. There we go. Oh, that's a bit better. I'm not feeling 100% today, to be honest, because sore throat and a cup of tea does work wonders from time to time. So any comments, any questions that you have, please put in the comment. We'll pop up your comment and we'll see what sort of questions you may have. But anyway, Repi or Anya, thank you ever so much for joining today. I really appreciate it. And for everyone else, please let me know where you're from. That'd be great to hear. So in terms of my specialization within teaching academic English, I would recommend a couple of books, actually 3 books. Bear with me, I need to grab this book here. Okay, so essentially for academic English, the biggest difficulty that most students encounter is writing. And writing itself is quite a difficult subject to achieve or to develop that confidence with. And there's one book that I always recommend either my private students or students that I'm teaching through the university with, and it's this book here. So this book here, Academic Writing, I've had it for a couple of years. I first started when I started teaching academic skills and English, and it goes through the entirety of teaching English writing, academic writing, from what to do when you receive your essay title, what do you do, to note taking, to drafting, to writing, and then proofreading, and then submitting. So there's a variety of things there, and I can see here Right, bear with me. Someone's posted it up. Hello, any ideas on how to practice jigsaw reading with individual students? Okay, that's a good question. And I can see your name, but I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. So, I'm not sure. I can't read Cyrillic writing, I'm afraid. But good question anyway, and welcome to today's chat. So, jigsaw reading, for those that are unfamiliar about jigsaw reading, it's essentially where you have the same text with gaps missed out, and the students have to share their information with another party, another group, and vice versa, so that they can complete the entirety, complete the whole writing. And what do we have? Mariam. Okay, thank you, Mariam. So jigsaw writing. Sorry, not jigsaw writing. Jigsaw reading works quite well with a group of students. A group, normally you would have two groups. And the traditional jigsaw reading that I have used in the past was about Marilyn Monroe and Charlie Chaplin. And you've got one group of students who has information all about Charlie Chaplin, but then missing information about Marilyn Monroe. And the other group have information about Marilyn Monroe and some missing information about Charlie Chaplin. And so essentially what jigsaw reading is really good at is trying to get students to focus in on the particular detail which is missing and question forms. So you've got, Charlie Chaplin was born in, and then you've got a bit of information missing. And what you can do is you can say, before the students just like ask questions and write down what they think, say, okay, go through all the 10 gaps of information that's missing and write down the particular questions that you're going to ask the other group. And then the other group, you do the same with your pieces of missing information. And I structure it so it's methodical, logical, but step by step. And then I say, okay, let's have a look at the questions, and then let's look at question formation, and boom, there we are. That's fine, no problem. And then once the questions have been agreed, I go, okay, you're going to ask each group and you can ask that information. So that's essentially how I would do it within a group setting. But as Mariam has asked about individual students, this is where it gets a bit tricky, because essentially it's great for groups, but just needs slight tweaking when it comes down to individual students. So for an individual student, you're going to give them a piece of text with missing information, and you're going to have the answers to that as a teacher. And again, much like everything, and again, I've got some spam here, bear with me. I'm wondering how I can remove this sort of spam. Let's see if I can put them. There we go. And I'm going to report them. There we go. All right, and okay, sorry about that. So when you're doing a jigsaw reading individually, you're going to be getting the students to look at the missing information and write questions related to the missing information. Then you're going to review the questions that they've written or typed out or whatever. And then you say, okay, you ask me the questions and I'll give you the information, and you have to listen and note and take notes of what I'm saying. And This is great for additional language, like how do you spell that? Could you repeat that again, please? Sorry, I didn't catch that. So this type of language for seeking clarification and check-in language would be useful. And then the other way you could do it, once you've demonstrated that, you could say, okay, I've got a piece of writing here with missing information, and I'm going to ask you questions, and I want you to tell me the answer. And you could put it like that in a way. That's how I would practice jigsaw reading, in that sense. So I hope that helps, Miriam. In terms of other activities, other types of reading, you could get like a newspaper article, for example, that you want to share with the student. Maybe get the newspaper article about the same topic or subject or the same report from different sources. So you've got one like from the BBC News, and you've got one from the Daily Mail if you read that, and then one from the Guardian, all on the same theme and the headline. And then you can get the students to compare how differently it's been written based on the news outlet, Daily Mail, BBC or Guardian. So yeah, I hope that's another one. And you're very welcome, Miriam. So there we are. But good question, Miriam. I like those questions, so keep them coming. I really appreciate it. Appreciate any sort of questions that you may have. So thank you ever so much for asking such a important, interesting question. I really appreciate that. So thank you. Right. Now, in terms, I've already shared this book in terms of writing academically. This one's really good. And there's also not just the element of writing, but there's also grammar as well. And what I always tend to say to my students is, when I'm teaching them and they're unsure about the grammar of English academic writing, I said, well, don't worry too much, because the writing of any form in grammar of academic writing, sorry, let me start again. I say to students, don't worry too much about the grammar of English when you're writing academically, because the vast majority, 90% of English grammar in academic writing is present simple, past simple, and present perfect, and that's it. So any more complicated things you don't have to worry about. So the grammar's not really too problematic. But there is a book to help them develop a bit more awareness of, passive forms, or, signposting, and, the sort of language related to writing. And so there's this book here, Oxford Grammar for EAP, English for Academic Purposes. And then as a sort of guide for teachers who want to get involved in EAP, there's finally EAP Essentials. So these three books are great. Now we've got another question here from Saliha. So hello, Saliha. You say, do you have any suggestions on what could be done when young adult students insist on speaking in their mother tongue to one another during speaking activities in the classroom? Quite a useful question. Bear with me. It's the change of season in the UK, and things are... I'm all stuffed and I just need lots of cup of tea. Right. Okay, so you have young adult students, let's say young adults, 18 plus, What can you do? Well, I suppose in terms of speaking, other than their first language, if you want them to speak in English, then it's important for them to be aware of what's expected in the classroom, and perhaps as a first lesson, or expectations, you can get the students to write down the rules of the classroom. So normally I get the students to think about, okay, what sort of rules do you think are suitable? You can and you can't, and so you must and you mustn't. You must speak English during the lesson, and you mustn't speak your first language during the lesson, and that sort of thing. If you've built a sort of rule with the students, you can always refer back to that during the course and say, well, I can hear a bit of L1, and remember we had these rules here, so you need to return back to English. But I'm also familiar that occasionally it's probably quicker and easier for students of the same language to just speak quite quickly or interact very quickly in their first language. It's natural, and if you can understand what they're saying, and if it's just for a brief 10 seconds, then I wouldn't say it's anything too bad. But if it starts ending up being too long, then that's when I start to look at them, give them the eye, or give them the sort of, what are you doing? The other aspect of that is to get a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, and write down good, I tend to mix it about a bit. So if I've got a piece of paper, bear with me. And this one I used to do with kids, and it works just as well with adults also. So I would say and I would hold it up to all the students, cool Chinese, and you can add a face to it as well, so sad face. Not sure if you can see that, but it kind of works. So sort of reverse psychology, if you kind of understand what I mean. But if you've got students chatting away in their own language more often than not, then use that sort of reverse psychology. Just less is more, I think, in that respect. So you don't need to give too much in terms of your effort, and want students to say, oh, we should be speaking in English. If you remind them again, very briefly, using pen and paper, then it's not going to cause too much issue. But particularly important when it's down to speaking activities or discussion activities. It's important for you to remind them and to be present, front and centre, of anything that's, if students are reverting back. So that's my suggestion, Saliha. And any other ideas from anyone else? Please let me know. Right. We have another question here. So Second, thank you ever so much, Second. Recognise your name. Right. Anyway, Second says, are there any universities in the UK that offers BA TESOL programs? In fact, there are. There's a number of different universities that offer undergraduate and postgraduate programs in TESOL. Teaching English to speakers of other languages, or there's more the traditional element of English language teaching or teaching English as a foreign language, there are programs available in the UK. And in terms of universities offering a sort of BA, a Bachelor of Arts in TESOL, then there are. And let me just have a quick look. Bear with me. Drop the books down. And let's go back to our Google Chrome and TESOL, BA, TESOL, UK. Now, what's really good, and I believe this is the case, is that some of the undergraduate courses and postgraduate courses can be done remotely online. And there's input sessions, particularly in this day and age where certain universities offer either face-to-face or online in light of the current pandemic, or online only. So let me have a look at the website here. So here we have Google. All I've done is BA TESOL UK. There's Manchester Metropolitan University. There's TESOL and Linguistics degree. So let's have a quick look at some of these. Modern languages, English language and linguistics, that would be good. That BA honours, that would be better. And anything else? BA education and TESOL, that would be nice. Right. And Swansea, Teesside. Okie dokie, right, let's have a look. So first of all, we have Manchester Metropolitan University here. And you can see there are UK universities that can, in terms of courses. There's the course overview. It starts in September 2022. It's 3 years full time. And then there's the UCAS points. Now, if you have gone through UK education where you've studied GCSEs and A-levels, there's certain A-levels that you need to achieve to be able to enter into this course. And the course is located at Manchester, so it looks like a face-to-face course. And there's a foundation year available for those that maybe require it. Let's see, entry requirements, international students. Okay, so you're looking at 6.0, no individual element, so 6.0 overall IELTS score, with no individual element lower than 5.5, as you can see here. So if you're from abroad, then that's the requirements. You've got the costs. So UK is £9,250 per year, so quite expensive. For those that are international students, £16,500. So a lot of money for EU and non-EU international full-time students. What else is there? Let's have a look. Okay, University of Kent. 3 years full-time, starts in September 2022. So very similar entry requirements. They have A-levels, BTECs, that sort of thing. And that. Okay, other elements of it. You got English language with TESOL BA honours. I think this would be better. This looks quite nice, and it's a BA honours, so honorary undergraduate degree. In terms of funding, it's £9,250, so the usual for UK students, but there is also tuition fees for international students, and you go through, got entry requirements, again just like before, IELTS 6.0 overall with 5.5, nothing lower than 5.5. Yeah. So it's very, very similar, and there's a bit more information about what you're going to look at in your first year, your second year, and then your final year as well. So quite well structured, and I certainly hope that helps Sekun with regards to your questions. So to remind ourselves again, are there any UK universities offering a BAT SOL program? Yes, there are. You just need to have a quick look and decide on which university would be best suited for you, and whereabouts in the UK you would prefer to be based, because different universities have different requirements and different different traditions and that sort of thing. So there we are. Okay, and then we had Saliha, and she said, thank you, you're very welcome. So any other questions, please let me know in the comments. It would be great to see what sort of questions you have, and you're very welcome, Zekun. You're very welcome. Right, let's return back to our main source here. There we are. So getting towards the end of our live stream. We've got just over 10 minutes, so any further questions that anyone has, please let me know in the comments, and I'll endeavour to answer any questions that you may have. Right, nice cup of tea. Okie dokie, right. One thing I wanted to look at was some blog posts, which I usually do normally at the beginning of the live stream, but I didn't really have much of a chance to review any of the websites. So some blog posts for this week. So let me just share this one. And this one is about how to build independent learners by James Murphy. And if we have a look here, really interesting by, one thing that's very important in the UK and other places, other educational providers, is the use of independent thinking and developing the skills of thought and reflection. And James Murphy here shares some things about what to do in the classroom to develop and encourage and improve independent thinking. So a really interesting blog post. I found it quite nice to look at this and go, well, actually, yeah, I'm doing that. It kind of confirms what I'm doing in the classroom is appropriate. And I'd recommend that you have a look at this yourself. And let me put the link below in the message here. So first website, there we go. Now, in terms of our next website, let's have a look at what there are. Okay, and one thing that's evolving at the moment is the Sharon website, is the Elt Ons. Elt Ons is an annual event which looks at the contribution of English language teaching, and they shortlist a variety of different different individuals and companies and various other things in relation to innovation in the English language teaching. And at the moment, it's open for category winners and shortlisted nominations and that sort of thing. And in the past, it looks at technology. So technology is the biggest area that most people look at in the Elt Ons. There's also publications as well, which are recommended. And this blog post here, I can't remember who wrote it, but it's on my blog feed usually. So it's really interesting. It looks at innovation. It looks at what's been recommended. Looks at the Elt Ons and a couple of other things in regards to that, and there's some references, and it's sort of semi. And I'm gonna click like to this. There we go. So quite an interesting post about the Elt Ons innovation and that aspect of English language teaching. Yeah. So have a look at that blog post. Now, finally, because we're heading towards the end of our live stream, and hopefully I can get a bit better because I'm a bit blocked up at the moment. So hopefully next week we'll be there with me feeling better and that sort of thing. I thought what I would do is to have a look at the final news of education, or maybe technology and education, and have a look at some aspects of the news that have occurred in the UK and abroad. One thing, Xbox is going to be 20 years old. I can't believe it's already going to be 20 years old. There's things about Apple ID and that sort of thing. In terms of technology, going a bit further down. Robots behind the bar serving your next drink. And one thing I've seen in the past is in where is it? Is it in Japan? They have a robot that serves in a restaurant. They serve food, and they take your orders, and it's next world really. One of the biggest things is YouTube recently removing the dislike button. So for those individuals who enjoy the content I create, you can hit the like button, and that kind of indicates me that you enjoy the videos. But YouTube has now decided to remove the dislike button in case of any pressure and that sort of thing. And Eric's just joined us. You're very welcome. Don't worry about it, Eric. We all have our busy lives, so don't worry about missing today's live stream. That's all right. It's just one of those things. But it's been a bit of a busy one. We've had quite a few people coming along, asking some great questions, and the time's flown by. So we've got about 5 minutes left. So if you've got any questions, Eric, then please feel free to post in the chat, and I'll be happy to offer my insight, I suppose. But one thing that YouTube is doing is removing the dislike button and discouraging sort of trolls and that sort of thing. So that's one element. Another thing that I noticed was in terms of education in the news was that where is it? Here. The Kenyans who are helping to cheat the world. So for me, and when it comes down to academic writing that I'm trying to teach my students, and hopefully they build that skills, there's a minority that looks at contracting someone to write their essay, and for that, academic integrity and misconduct is a very fine line. So some students would seek the help of essay mills or ghostwriting to help them write their main essay. But for me, I want to try and dissuade students to do that, because they're not doing themselves any justice at the end of it, because they won't be able to write academically in the future. And there's a lot of things that you can develop yourself when it comes down to academic writing. Now Eric, he's just asked about YouTube removing the dislike button slowly. My insight into that is, well, I suppose if you are one of the most popular YouTubers and you have quite a following, along with the following you also get some people that dislike your content as well. You can't please everybody. But for me, a very, very small channel, nothing like the likes of any of the big YouTubers around the world, and nothing like what Eric's achieved now with 50,000 subscribers. So again, well done, Eric. But for me, I don't see it, the dislike button being a problem. It really tells me how my content is viewed and how it's received. Obviously, the dislike button will still be available in the studio of YouTube, and you can see how people are connecting with it. And I can understand the issue of stress that's related to it, but for me, I'm quite comfortable, and I've got a thick skin, so I don't mind. I suppose I'm of the age of, if it's not fixed, don't. If it's not broken, don't fix it. If you know what I mean. Right. And then Miriam has a question here. What would you suggest I do to promote learner autonomy? And okay, this is going to be my final question for today before I finish off. So in terms of learner autonomy, it requires a bit of you need the strategy to go with it initially. If you're going to be teaching students and they're of that expectation that they're going to be spoon-fed and the teacher's going to tell them the answer and that sort of thing, then, and you switch straight to learner autonomy, then there's going to be a bit of a struggle, and the students won't necessarily be sold by your way of learner autonomy. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. So it requires just a step-by-step process. And what I would do is, try work bit by bit by, going, 5% learner autonomy, then 10% next time, 15%, and you're slowly shifting away to the other approach, I guess, rather than a teacher-led lesson or, prescriptive way of teaching. So go through it step by step. There's certain ways you can do the same thing. You could go, students, you can have a look at this activity, but then you feedback, the students feedback to you their thoughts and their ideas after the discussion. So you could do elements of autonomy in that respect. And then another step that you could look at is getting students to choose what they want to do in their next lesson. So do you want to do a listening, or do you want to do a reading? Do you want to do a writing? What sort of skills would you prefer to focus on next week? And let's have a vote now. And then the students vote together, and then you say, okay, well, based on your feedback, I'm going to have a look at this. So there's that dialogue that's occurring, and then before you know it, the students are in control of their learning, and they're dictating how the lesson should function and what they expect, and so you're shifting through from prescriptive to more autonomous teaching and learning. So that's what my suggestions would be with regards to that. Right, I'm going to finish off with a poem now, but I hope that's all right. And then Eric here said he doesn't mind the dislike button either way. So on the same page. Right, so let's get this poem. Now, as some of you may be aware, and some of you might not be aware, around this time of year, it's quite a solemn and quite a quiet time of year, with much being given to the memory of people who have passed away in elements of war and that sort of thing. And so what I wanted to do was to share a poem related to Remembrance Day. And this poem is called Flanders Field, in Flanders Field by John McCrae. Okay. And I did put it up on my Facebook. And let me see if I can share this page as well. Okay, so you can see here I've put this poem up, and I'm going to read it and let me know your thoughts and what you feel with regards to this very solemn and very touching poem by John McCrae. And excuse me, because of my cold, I might cough and splutter, but hopefully you'll get the drift. Right. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row and row, that mark our place, and in the sky the lark still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders field. Take up a quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field. And I included a nice picture by Charlie Mackenzie about the memory of Flanders field and the soldier and the horse here and the poppy raising up from below that person. So very nice poem and very touching for this time of year. Okay, well, thank you ever so much for everybody tuning in today. Really nice to see some great questions and comments coming along. I'll see everybody here next week. And I will see everybody at the same time at 1 p.m. Don't worry if you missed it or that sort of thing. And any aspects of English teaching, any questions that you may have about teaching remotely, then please let me know. I'll be happy to help. But have a lovely week, everyone. Have a lovely rest of the day, evening, or wherever you are, and I'll see everybody soon. Yeah, take care, stay safe, and happy teaching. Bye bye.